because a lot of people resent that you have had the opportunity to live in North America, and they associate living in North America as having money. Like automatically you come to North America and the bank just calls you and lumps this X amount of money. And definitely there are more opportunities. I mean, especially here in Canada with the healthcare. I mean, I can have anything done, any procedure I need to have done in Canada. If my doctor says, okay, this is what's wrong with her, she needs a specialist, I might have to wait a bit, but I can have that procedure done if my doctor feels that I need that. The first time I went back was I left the country in 1980 and I went back in 1986 for the first time. And I kept going back up until 2007, I kept going back. But when I went back in 2007, I had decided that if things didn't go in a certain direction, it was definitely my indication that it won't ever work for me, that I would have to. The thing about living in Toronto is that the only thing that ever was satisfying to me was being with my family. Then there's setbacks too, because I am still a minority in North America, and I will always feel like a second class citizen in North America. When you live at home, it's your home, that's your home. It's your as I said, I feel home is always a power base, whether it's your house or your country or whatever. So yeah, it's quite a journey into recovery. It's quite a journey. I remember before the first time I went to see a therapist, whenever I heard there was a Club Med commercial, and every time I heard that commercial, I used to feel like somebody was stabbing me in my heart. Like there was just physical pain in my heart. Like
Explain that
that
one.
every time I did that. And then I went back to my country. I grew up by the water. The Club Med commercial had the sound of the water, and that, I think, the same connection that I felt and missing, because it's not like if I came to BC, Victoria, BC, where I am now, and the ocean is right there. I went to Toronto, where I had to travel about an hour to go to a lake, and it was definitely not the same experience at the lake. So, because I kept wanting to go home back to that. I believe what I wanted to is to go back to that place where I felt confident and felt, but it didn't work out that way. Um, Quite a few really, really intense experiences. Um, in 1986, I was in South Africa, babysitting for someone doing a film, and I loved it. I loved the mountains and the ocean. I was just like telling everybody about all the mountains and the oceans. And someone said to me, if you like mountains and oceans, you should go to British Columbia. And I thought about it. I started looking at it. At that time, I was not working. I didn't have any resources. And I felt safer going back to my country. I figured this is where I was born. I know it. I have family there and stuff. It's warm. It's familiar. So I went there in 1986 after that trip instead of venturing to BC, and I was there until 2001. Well, my experience there was so horrendous that it really shook me to the core. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they are able to make the kind of money that they make and have rent and food, much less some of the things that other people have achieved for themselves. I mean, you really have to be creative. And so they are. And they do it really well. They do it really well, and so it took me a while to survive that. And when I did survive it, I reconsidered BC. I started
How
out.
long were you there in Guyana?
I was in Guyana from 1986 to 2000.
So 4 years, enough time to.
Yeah. And so I started reconsidering BC at about in 2000. And I was looking at the possibility as coming out as a tree planter. And I was researching that. And I love Guyana. I love its nature. I really feel an affinity for it. I guess for having been born there, but the economic situation there and what it has forced the people to become, some of the people to become,
Like what?
like really, I would say creative in the way they go about getting their needs met, even if it means that somebody suffers in the process.
So
I guess if in a simplified form, you could just say that it's people use you. People can be very rob you blind, but not come in your house at dark and rob you blind, but the way that people interact with you. And in Guyana, it's done in such a subtle way that you can really get taken for a lot. And it's not just things, it's because of the way that it is done, the emotional investment that you place in it. For me, it was more than the loss of things. It was a emotional and mental betrayal for me.